The Grand Metropolitan Hotel glowed like a crystal box against the November night. Sophia Mitchell stood at the entrance, smoothing down the burgundy dress that Roberto had insisted she wear. The fabric was silk, expensive in a way that made her uncomfortable. It clung to her body differently than anything she owned, the neckline dipping low across her back, the hem falling just above her knees. "You look stunning," Roberto said beside her, his hand finding the small of her back. The touch was warm, possessive in a way she had started to notice more often lately. Sophia forced a smile. "Thank you for inviting me. I need you here tonight," he replied, guiding her through the marble entrance. "Important people, important conversations. Your translations will be invaluable." She had been translating business documents for Roberto Ferraro for 6 months now. Legal contracts mostly, acquisition papers, international correspondence. The work paid well, better than most of her freelance clients. He had found her through a referral, or so he said. Charming, attentive, patient with her initial hesitation about working for someone so clearly wealthy and connected. The ballroom opened before them like something from a movie. Chandeliers hung from ceilings that seemed impossibly high, casting golden light across marble floors polished to mirrors. Women in designer gowns moved through the space like jewels. Men in tailored suits clustered in groups, voices low and serious. This was not her world. This had never been her world. "Stay close," Roberto murmured, his fingers pressing slightly against her spine. Sophia nodded, clutching her small clutch purse tighter. Inside was her phone, her lipstick, and a photo of Lorenzo she always carried. Her son was spending the night with Hannah, her neighbor and closest friend. He had been excited about the sleepover, chattering about the movies they would watch. She had kissed his forehead 3 times before leaving, breathing in the scent of his shampoo, the baby softness still clinging to his 4-year-old skin. Roberto moved through the crowd with ease, greeting people by name, shaking hands, introducing Sophia as his translator. She smiled politely, exchanged pleasantries, tried not to think about how much the watch on that man's wrist could pay her rent for a year, tried not to feel like an imposter in borrowed silk. They were halfway across the ballroom when she felt it. A shift in the air, a pressure like the moment before lightning strikes. Her skin prickled with awareness she could not explain. She turned her head slightly, scanning the room. That was when she saw him. Anthony Versiani stood on the second-floor mezzanine, one hand resting on the brass railing, his entire body still. He wore black, the suit fitting him like a second skin, every line sharp and deliberate. His hair was shorter than she remembered, pushed back from his face, revealing the strong bones she had once traced with her fingers in the darkness of their bedroom. 5 years. 5 years since she had seen him. 5 years since he had destroyed her in front of her family, told her she was nothing, that she had been convenient, but ultimately forgettable. 5 years since she had left his penthouse with 1 suitcase and a secret growing inside her body. Their eyes met across the distance. Time stopped. Sophia could not breathe, could not move, could not think beyond the sudden roaring in her ears. Anthony's expression did not change, but something in his posture shifted, coiled tight like a snake preparing to strike. Then his gaze moved slightly to the left, landing on Roberto beside her. Something dark and terrible crossed Anthony's face before he controlled it, smoothing his features back into cold neutrality. "Sophia." Roberto's voice seemed to come from very far away. "Are you all right?" She tore her eyes away from the mezzanine. "Yes, I'm fine. Just warm." Roberto followed her previous line of sight, looking up. His hand on her back stiffened. "Ah, Anthony Versiani. I did not realize he would be here tonight. You know him?" Sophia's voice came out steadier than she felt. "In business, everyone knows everyone," Roberto replied, his tone careful. "We move in similar circles." Sophia's heart hammered against her ribs. She had not said his name in 5 years, had not allowed herself to think it most days. And now here he was, real and solid, and descending the curved marble staircase with measured steps that ate up the distance between them. "We should move," she whispered urgently. "No," Roberto said quietly. "That would be rude. He is coming to greet us." Anthony crossed the ballroom floor like a predator, people unconsciously stepping aside to let him pass. A man followed 3 steps behind him, broad-shouldered and alert, eyes constantly scanning. Security, Sophia realized. Or something more dangerous. Then Anthony was there, standing 3 feet away, and Sophia could smell his cologne. The same one. Cedar and something darker. Something that made her remember sheets tangled around bare legs, and his mouth on her throat. "Roberto," Anthony said, his voice low and controlled. He did not offer his hand. "Anthony," Roberto replied, smiling in a way that did not reach his eyes. "What a pleasant surprise." "Is it?" Anthony's gaze flicked to Sophia, lingered for a fraction too long, then returned to Roberto. "I was not aware you were bringing a date. Sophia is my translator," Roberto said, pulling her closer against his side. She could feel the tension vibrating through him. Sophia Mitchell. This is Anthony Versiani. The use of her maiden name felt like a small violence. She had taken it back after the divorce, reclaimed the identity she had before him. But hearing it now, in his presence, felt like an erasure of something that still lived in her chest. "We have met," Anthony said, his eyes finally meeting hers directly. The impact was physical. Sophia felt pinned, examined, dissected. His eyes were exactly as she remembered. Dark brown so deep they looked black in certain light, framed by lashes that were absurdly long for a man. She had loved those eyes once. Had believed they saw her, truly saw her, when everyone else in her life had looked through her. "Have you?" Roberto's tone sharpened with interest. "Briefly," Sophia managed, her voice barely above a whisper. "A long time ago. 5 years," Anthony said. Not a question. A statement of fact. 5 years, 2 months, and 16 days. The specificity stole her breath. Roberto laughed, a sound that held no humor. "You have an excellent memory." "For important things," Anthony replied, still looking at Sophia. The man who had followed Anthony stepped closer, his presence a subtle threat. Roberto noticed, his own posture shifting defensively. "Vincent," Anthony said without looking back. "Give us a moment." The large man nodded once and retreated several steps, though his eyes never stopped moving, cataloging exits and potential threats. "So you two knew each other," Roberto said, his hand sliding up to Sophia's shoulder, fingers pressing into the bare skin there. "How fascinating that you never mentioned it, my dear." "It was not worth mentioning," Sophia said quickly. "It was nothing. Nothing," Anthony repeated, the word falling from his lips like a stone into deep water. Roberto reached into his jacket pocket, pulling out his leather wallet. "Well, I am glad for the reunion. Sophia has been wonderful. Brilliant mind. Flawless translations. I am very lucky to have found her." He opened the wallet to retrieve a business card, but his fingers slipped. The wallet tumbled from his hand, hitting the marble floor with a sharp crack. Photographs spilled out, scattering across the polished stone. "How clumsy of me," Roberto said, bending down slowly. Sophia moved to help, crouching in the burgundy dress, gathering the photos. Her own face looked back at her from several shots, professional headshots Roberto had insisted on taking for his company website. Then another photo, smaller, slightly crumpled. Lorenzo at the park. 4 years old, dark hair catching sunlight, laughing at something beyond the camera's frame. His eyes were bright with joy, his small hands gripping the chains of a swing. Sophia froze, the photograph trembling in her fingers. Anthony had also crouched down, ostensibly to help. His hand closed around another photograph of Lorenzo, this one from his first day of preschool, backpack nearly as big as his small body. The world went silent. Sophia watched Anthony's face as he stared at the photograph, watched every molecule of his expression freeze, then crack, then rebuild itself into something carefully blank. But his eyes betrayed him, widening just slightly, pupils dilating as his brain processed what he was seeing. The child in the photograph had his face, the same strong jawline, the same dark eyes set deep, the same mouth. The resemblance was not subtle. It was absolute. Anthony looked up at her, the photograph still gripped in his hand. His lips parted as if to speak, but no sound emerged. She saw the calculation happening behind his eyes. the math adding up with brutal precision. 5 years. A 4-year-old child. The timeline was perfect and damning. "Thank you for the help," Roberto said smoothly, gathering the rest of the photographs and plucking the one from Anthony's frozen fingers. "My nephew, adorable child. Sophia has been kind enough to help with translations for his school enrollment. We are getting him into a prestigious academy." The lie was smooth, practiced, delivered with just enough casual warmth to seem believable. Anthony stood slowly, his movements controlled, but his eyes never leaving the photographs Roberto was sliding back into his wallet. "Your nephew," he repeated. "Yes." Roberto smiled, closing the wallet with a decisive snap. "Family is everything. Do you not agree, Anthony?" Sophia rose on shaking legs. She could not look at Anthony, could not bear to see what was written across his face. Her heart slammed against her ribs so hard she thought it might crack through bone. "Family is everything," Anthony echoed, his voice hollow. "We should circulate," Roberto said, his hand returning to Sophia's back, guiding her firmly away. "Lovely seeing you, Anthony. I am sure our paths will cross again soon." Anthony did not respond. Sophia felt his eyes on her back as Roberto led her through the crowd toward the bar. Her legs barely functioned, each step requiring conscious thought. That was unexpected. Roberto murmured against her ear. "You did not tell me you knew Anthony Versiani." "I did not think it mattered," Sophia said, her voice mechanical. "It was a very long time ago. How well did you know him?" "Not well. Barely at all." The lie tasted like ash on her tongue. Roberto signaled the bartender, ordering champagne Sophia knew she could not drink, would not be able to swallow past the tightness in her throat. Across the ballroom, Anthony had not moved. He stood exactly where they had left him, Vincent speaking urgently into his ear. But Anthony's attention was fixed on her with the intensity of a man witnessing the destruction of his entire world, because he knew. She had seen it in his eyes the moment he looked at Lorenzo's photograph. He knew he had a son she had never told him about, had hidden for 4 years, had raised alone while he continued his life as if she had never existed. Sophia's hands trembled as she accepted the champagne flute Roberto pressed into her palm. The bubbles caught the chandelier light, tiny explosions of gold that blurred as tears she could not shed gathered behind her eyes. "Drink," Roberto encouraged, his voice gentle but his eyes sharp, watching her carefully. "You look pale." She brought the glass to her lips, pretended to sip, felt the carbonation sting against her mouth. Across the room, Anthony finally moved, turning away, disappearing through a side exit with Vincent following close behind. The moment he was gone, the strength went out of Sophia's legs. She gripped the bar's edge, knuckles white against dark wood. "Perhaps we should leave early," Roberto suggested, though something in his tone suggested it was not really a suggestion. "You seem unwell." "No," Sophia said quickly. "I am fine. Just tired." "Are you certain?" His fingers traced small circles on her lower back, the touch that had once seemed comforting now feeling like surveillance. "I would not want you uncomfortable." "I am fine," she repeated, forcing herself to straighten, to smile, to pretend her entire carefully constructed life had not just shattered into pieces at her feet. But she was not fine. She would never be fine again. Because Anthony Versiani had seen his son for the first time tonight, and there was no universe in which that knowledge did not change everything. Anthony Versiani did not sleep that night. He sat in his private office on the 40th floor of a building he owned under 3 different shell companies, staring at the single photograph Vincent had managed to capture on his phone at the Gala. The boy. His son. Dark hair, dark eyes, a face that mirrored his own with such precision it felt like looking into a time portal. Vincent stood near the window, phone pressed to his ear, speaking in rapid low tones to their best investigators. When he ended the call, he turned to face Anthony. "We have an address," Vincent said. "Queens. A small apartment building near the subway station. 2nd floor, Unit 2B. Sophia Mitchell has lived there for 4 years and 7 months. Anthony's jaw clenched. 4 years and 7 months, since she had moved into that apartment. 7 months after he had ended their marriage. The timeline assembled itself in his mind with brutal mathematical precision. He had thrown her out of his life while his child grew inside her body. The boy's name is Lorenzo Mitchell, Vincent continued, consulting notes on his tablet. 4 years and 7 months old. Born at Mount Sinai Hospital. No father listed on the birth certificate. Show me everything, Anthony said, his voice rough. Vincent approached the desk, setting the tablet down and swiping through images. Security camera footage from the street outside Sophia's building showed her leaving each morning holding Lorenzo's small hand. The child wore a backpack covered in cartoon dinosaurs. His gait was energetic, bouncing, the way young children move when everything is still an adventure. More photos. Lorenzo at a playground, hanging upside down from monkey bars while Sophia stood nearby. Her face anxious, but trying to hide it. Lorenzo at a small birthday party, cake smeared across his face, laughing. Lorenzo asleep in a stroller while Sophia carried grocery bags up the stairs to their apartment. Every image was a knife between Anthony's ribs. How did Roberto Ferraro meet her? Anthony asked, dragging his eyes away from the screen. Vincent pulled up another file. Officially, 6 months ago at a small art gallery in Chelsea, there was an opening for a local artist. Sophia attended alone. Roberto approached her. They spoke for 20 minutes, exchanged contact information. He hired her as a freelance translator 2 weeks later. Officially, Anthony repeated, catching the emphasis. I dug deeper, Vincent said. Roberto's financial records show payments to a private investigation firm 8 months ago. Significant payments. The firm specializes in background checks and surveillance. I spoke to a contact who confirmed the target was a woman matching Sophia's description. The air in the office seemed to thin. He hunted her deliberately. Yes, Vincent confirmed. The gallery meeting was not chance. He knew exactly who she was before approaching her. Anthony stood abruptly, the chair scraping against hardwood. He crossed to the window, looking out at the city sprawled beneath him. Somewhere in that vast darkness, his son slept in a small apartment, protected only by a mother who had no idea she was being circled by a predator. What does he want? Anthony asked. Unknown, Vincent admitted. But men like Roberto Ferraro do not invest 8 months of planning for simple companionship. She does not know, Anthony said quietly. She has no idea who he really is. Are you certain? Anthony thought about Sophia's face at the gala, the genuine surprise when she saw him, the fear that had flickered across her features when Roberto touched her. She had not known. She was an innocent caught in something designed specifically to hurt Anthony in the most devastating way possible. Put surveillance on both of them, Anthony ordered. 24 hours. I want to know every place they go, every conversation, every phone call Roberto makes. Use the best people. Discreet. Sophia cannot know she is being watched. Already arranged, Vincent said. Teams are in position as of 1 hour ago. Anthony nodded once, his mind already moving through strategies and contingencies. Roberto had made a critical mistake by revealing the child tonight. He had shown his hand too early. Let Anthony see what leverage he thought he possessed. That overconfidence would be his downfall. Get me everything on Roberto Ferraro, Anthony added. Financial records, property holdings, business associates, enemies, everything. Vincent nodded and left the office, his footsteps fading down the corridor. Anthony returned to the desk, picking up the tablet, scrolling back to the image of Lorenzo at the playground. The boy's smile was wide and unguarded, filled with the kind of joy that came from not yet understanding the world could be cruel. Anthony had a son. The knowledge sat in his chest like a living thing, expanding with each breath until he thought his ribs might crack from the pressure. For 5 years he had believed he was protecting Sophia by driving her away, by ensuring she was free of the violence and danger that shadowed every aspect of his life. Instead, he had abandoned her to raise their child alone, had left her vulnerable to men like Roberto Ferraro, who saw her only as a chess piece to be moved and sacrificed. The mistakes of his past had created a present that might destroy everything. The week that followed moved with excruciating slowness. Vincent's team reported back with increasing frequency, building a detailed picture of Sophia's routine and Roberto's increasingly possessive behavior. Sophia worked from home most days, taking translation jobs through a freelance platform, picking up Lorenzo from preschool at 3 o'clock each afternoon. She grocery shopped on Wednesdays. She had coffee with a friend named Hannah every Saturday morning while Lorenzo played at the community center. Her life was small, careful, built around the safety and happiness of her son. Roberto called her 6 times in those first 3 days. The surveillance team had managed to tap his phone, feeding audio directly to Vincent. Anthony listened to each conversation, his hands curling into fists as Roberto's voice dripped false charm and barely concealed control. On the 4th day, the tone shifted. "I would like you to have dinner with me tomorrow evening," Roberto said over the phone, his accent thickening slightly. "At my penthouse. Bring Lorenzo. I have been thinking we should spend more time together as a family." There was a long pause on Sophia's end of the line. When she spoke, her voice carried new wariness. "That is very kind. But Lorenzo has school the next morning. It would be too late for him. We can eat early," Roberto pressed. 6 o'clock. "I will have my chef prepare something special. Children like pizza, yes? Roberto, I appreciate the invitation, but this week is very busy with work deadlines. You work too hard, my dear. You should let me take care of you both. A woman like you should not struggle the way you do." Another pause, longer this time. "I manage fine." "Of course you do," Roberto replied, but something sharp had entered his voice. "You are very capable. But everyone needs help sometimes. Everyone needs someone they can rely on." "I have to go," Sophia said abruptly. "Lorenzo needs me." "Think about dinner," Roberto said. "I will call you tomorrow." The line went dead. Anthony replayed the conversation 3 times, analyzing every inflection, every pause. Roberto was pushing, testing Sophia's boundaries, seeing how much control he could exert. And Sophia was resisting, her instincts finally alerting her to danger even if her conscious mind had not fully accepted it yet. "He is escalating," Vincent observed from across the office. "She is pulling away and it is making him aggressive. She is smart," Anthony said. "She senses something wrong." The next afternoon, surveillance captured Roberto calling Sophia again. This time, his charm had evaporated entirely. "You have been avoiding me," Roberto stated without preamble. "I have not been avoiding you. I told you work has been demanding. You rejected 3 invitations this week, Sophia. That feels very much like avoidance." "I did not reject them. I explained that the timing was not good." "When will the timing be good?" Roberto's voice dropped lower, taking on an edge that made Anthony's muscles tense across town as he listened. "I have been patient. I have been understanding. But patience has limits. Roberto, I think we should talk about our working relationship," Sophia said carefully. "I appreciate the opportunities you have given me, but I am not certain this arrangement is working anymore." Silence stretched across the line. When Roberto spoke again, his voice was silk over steel. "What arrangement are you referring to, my dear? Our professional relationship or our personal one?" "Both," Sophia said quietly. "I think it would be better if we maintained some distance." "Distance," Roberto repeated. "How interesting. Does this sudden desire for distance have anything to do with seeing Anthony Versiani at the gala?" Anthony went very still. "No," Sophia said, but the word came too quickly. "That has nothing to do with this. You seemed very affected by seeing him, very shaken, and now you want distance from me. The timing is curious, do you not think? Roberto, this is not about anyone else. This is about me needing space to focus on my son and my work." "Your son," Roberto said softly. "Yes, Lorenzo. Such a beautiful child. You must worry about him constantly, raising him alone in this city. So many dangers. So many things that could go wrong." The threat was not even thinly veiled. "I have to go," Sophia said, her voice tight with barely controlled fear. "Think carefully, Sophia," Roberto said. "Think very carefully about the choices you are making. Some bridges, once burned, cannot be rebuilt, and some people are not safe to walk away from." The call ended. Anthony was on his feet instantly. "Where is she now?" Vincent checked his phone, reading updates from the surveillance team. "At her apartment. Lorenzo is at preschool for another hour. Roberto? His penthouse in Tribeca." He made 2 calls immediately after hanging up with Sophia. both to associates with ties to organized crime in Russia. He is making moves, Anthony said, his mind racing through scenarios and countermeasures. He knows she is trying to leave and he cannot allow it. What do you want to do? Anthony looked at the city beyond his windows. Somewhere out there, Sophia was alone in a small apartment, probably frightened, trying to figure out how to extricate herself from a situation that had become dangerous without understanding the full scope of that danger. Keep eyes on both of them. If Roberto moves toward her apartment or Lorenzo's school, I want to know immediately. Have a team ready to intervene if necessary. You are protecting her, Vincent said. It was not a question. She is the mother of my son, Anthony replied. That makes her family, and I protect my family. That evening, as Anthony reviewed financial reports he could not focus on, his secure phone buzzed with a message from the surveillance team. Sophia had received a text from an unknown number. The message was simple, only one line. Search his name. Search for real. Anthony had not authorized anyone on his team to contact Sophia directly. He called Vincent immediately. Did you send that message? No, Vincent said. None of our people would break protocol like that. Then who? Unknown. The number is untraceable. Routed through multiple proxies. Anthony frowned. Someone else was watching this situation unfold. Someone else wanted Sophia to know the truth about Roberto Ferraro. The question was who, and what their agenda might be. The surveillance feed showed Sophia sitting on her small couch, staring at her phone screen. Lorenzo played on the floor nearby, building a tower from colorful blocks. After several minutes, Sophia opened her laptop. She typed Roberto's name into a search engine, then refined the search, added keywords, dug deeper than surface results. The team watching her reported that she accessed newspaper archives, legal databases, public records. An hour later, her face had gone pale. She closed the laptop abruptly, pressing both hands over her mouth. She had found something. Not everything, perhaps, but enough to confirm her instincts. Enough to be frightened. Lorenzo looked up from his blocks. Mommy, are you okay? Sophia pulled her hands away from her face, forcing a smile that Anthony could see was fragile even through the grainy surveillance footage. I am fine, baby. Just tired. Can we have mac and cheese for dinner? Yes, Sophia said, her voice strained. Whatever you want. She picked up her phone again, staring at Roberto's last message still displayed on the screen. Her thumb hovered over his contact, as if considering calling him. Then she closed the phone and set it face down on the couch cushion beside her. She was afraid. She knew she was in danger, but she did not know what to do about it, did not know where to turn for help. Anthony watched through the surveillance feed as Sophia stood and went to the kitchen, pulling out a box of pasta from the cabinet with hands that trembled slightly. She started boiling water, moving through familiar motions while her son played innocently nearby, unaware that his mother's world was crumbling around them both. We need to move faster, Anthony said to Vincent. Roberto will not wait long now that she is trying to pull away. He will make a move within the next 48 hours. What kind of move? I do not know yet, Anthony admitted. But whatever it is, we need to be ready. He looked at the screen showing Sophia stirring pasta in a small pot, her shoulders tense with the weight of threats she could not fully understand. His son sat on the floor behind her, building towers and knocking them down with delighted laughter. 5 years ago, Anthony had pushed them both away to keep them safe. Now safety meant pulling them close, whether Sophia wanted that or not, whether she trusted him or not, whether she could ever forgive him or not, because Roberto Ferraro had made a critical error in targeting Anthony's family, and that error would cost him everything. Sophia chose the cafe deliberately. Midtown location, large windows facing the street, always crowded during lunch hours. Public spaces were safer. If she was going to end things with Roberto, she needed witnesses around her, needed the protection of strangers who might intervene if something went wrong. She arrived 15 minutes early, claiming a table near the front where sunlight poured through glass, her hands wrapped around a cup of black coffee she could not taste. Every nerve in her body felt exposed, raw. She had barely slept in the 2 days since that anonymous message, since falling down the rabbit hole of search results that painted Roberto Ferraro as someone far more dangerous than the charming businessman he pretended to be. The connections were vague, carefully obscured by expensive lawyers and media manipulation, but they were there. Associates with known criminal ties, businesses that appeared and disappeared like ghosts, investigations that started but never concluded. And buried deep in an archived news article from 5 years ago, a single paragraph about a territorial dispute that had ended in violence. Sophia checked her phone. Roberto would arrive in 7 minutes. She had rehearsed what she would say, how she would phrase the end of both their professional and personal relationship. Polite but firm. Apologetic but immovable. The chair across from her scraped against tile. Sophia looked up, words already forming on her lips. Then every molecule of air evacuated her lungs. Anthony Versiani sat down in Roberto's seat. He wore charcoal gray today, the suit fitting him with the precision of custom tailoring. His hair was perfect as always, pushed back from his face, revealing those dark eyes that watched her with an intensity that made her want to run. "What are you doing here?" Sophia's voice came out sharp, angry, covering the terror beneath. "Preventing you from making a mistake," Anthony replied calmly. Sophia glanced toward the door, then back at him. "How did you know where I would be? That is not important." "It is important to me." Her hands clenched into fists on the table. "Have you been following me? Having me watched?" Anthony did not deny it. "Roberto Ferraro is dangerous, Sophia. You need to end contact with him immediately and stay far away." "You do not get to tell me what to do," Sophia hissed, leaning forward. "You lost that right 5 years ago when you threw me out of your life like garbage." A muscle in Anthony's jaw flexed. "I understand you are angry." "Angry?" Sophia's voice rose despite her efforts to control it. Several nearby patrons glanced their way. She lowered her tone, but the fury remained. "You humiliated me. You told me I was nothing, that I meant nothing. You destroyed everything we had, and now you think you can just appear and give me orders? This is not about us," Anthony said, his voice tight. "This is about your safety. My safety is not your concern anymore. It will always be my concern." Sophia pushed back from the table, grabbing her purse. "I do not have time for this. Roberto will be here any minute, and I do not want you here when he arrives." "He will not be here," Anthony said. Sophia froze halfway out of her chair. "What?" "There was a traffic incident 3 blocks from here. Multiple vehicles involved. The street is completely blocked. Roberto's car is stuck in the gridlock." The implication settled over Sophia like ice water. "You did that. You caused that." "I needed to speak with you alone," Anthony confirmed without remorse. Sophia sank back into the chair, her legs suddenly unreliable. "You cannot do things like that. You cannot just manipulate circumstances to control me. I am trying to protect you." "From what?" Sophia demanded. "From a man I was already planning to distance myself from?" "I do not need your protection, Anthony. I do not need anything from you. You are in danger, and you do not even fully understand how much." "Then explain it to me," Sophia challenged. "Tell me why Roberto Ferraro is so dangerous. Tell me what this is really about." Anthony's eyes held hers, and for a moment, she saw something break through his controlled facade. Pain, perhaps. Or regret. Roberto is not what he seems. He is involved in activities that put everyone around him at risk. He targeted you specifically, Sophia. Your meeting 6 months ago was not chance. He researched you, planned your introduction, engineered your entire relationship. Why would he do that? To hurt me, Anthony said simply. Sophia shook her head. That makes no sense. He did not even know about our past until the gala. He knew, Anthony insisted. He has known from the beginning. Everything he has done with you has been calculated to use you against me. I am not some chess piece in whatever game you two are playing, Sophia said, her voice shaking now. I am a person. A mother. I have a life that has nothing to do with you or him, or any of this. Lorenzo, Anthony said, and Sophia's entire body went rigid. Tell me about him. No, Sophia whispered. He is mine, Anthony stated, not a question. He is my son. You do not get to claim him, Sophia said, her voice breaking. You gave up that right. I did not know he existed, because I did not tell you, because you made it very clear you wanted nothing from me, nothing of me. So I gave you exactly what you asked for. Anthony leaned forward, his eyes searching her face. If I had known, it would not have changed anything. Sophia cut him off. You would have still been who you are. Your world would have still been too dangerous for us. You would have found some other reason to push us away. You do not know that. I know you, Sophia said quietly. I know exactly who you are, Anthony Versiani, and that is why my son will never know you. The words landed like physical blows. Anthony's expression shuddered, but not before Sophia saw the wound her statement created. He has a birthmark, Anthony said, his voice rough, on his right shoulder blade. Small, shaped like a crescent moon. The same one my brother had. Sophia's breath caught. How do you know that? He is allergic to peanuts. Severely. You carry an EpiPen in your purse at all times because of it. The allergy runs in my family. My grandmother had it. My cousin nearly died from it as a child. Stop, Sophia said. He goes to Little Stars preschool on Elm Street in Queens. His teacher's name is Mrs. Rodriguez. His best friend is a girl named Maya. He loves dinosaurs, specifically the Triceratops, because he thinks the 3 horns make it look tough. Stop it, Sophia repeated, her voice rising. His favorite color is blue. He sleeps with a stuffed elephant named Peanut, which is ironic given his allergy. He asks you every night to read 2 books before bed. Never 1. Always 2. Sophia stood abruptly, the chair scraping loudly. You had no right. No right to investigate him, to watch him, to learn things about my child without my permission. Our child, Anthony corrected, standing as well. He is our child, Sophia. He is my child, Sophia said, her voice shaking with rage and fear. Mine. You are a stranger to him. You will always be a stranger to him. She turned and walked toward the exit, weaving between tables, desperate to escape the suffocating presence of the man who had once been everything to her and was now a threat to the life she had built. Sophia, wait, Anthony called after her. But she did not wait. She pushed through the cafe door into the bright afternoon sunlight, her vision blurring with tears she refused to shed. Her hands fumbled with her phone, calling for a car service, needing to get away, needing to collect Lorenzo from school and hold him close and remind herself that they were safe. They were fine. They had been fine for 4 years without Anthony, and they would continue to be fine. Behind her, Anthony stood in the cafe doorway, watching her retreat. He did not follow, but his presence burned against her back like a brand. 2 days passed. 2 days where Sophia jumped at every sound, checked over her shoulder constantly, held Lorenzo tighter than necessary. He complained that her hugs were too squeezy, but she could not help it. The world had become dangerous in ways she was still trying to fully comprehend. She had not heard from Roberto since their last phone call. No messages, no emails, no attempts at contact. The silence should have been a relief. Instead, it felt like the quiet before a storm. Thursday afternoon arrived ordinary and unremarkable. Sophia left her apartment at 2:30 to walk the 8 blocks to Lorenzo's preschool, the same route she walked every day, past the bodega where the owner always waved, past the small park where elderly men played chess, past the dry cleaner and the nail salon and the pizza place that smelled like heaven. She reached the school at 2:55, 5 minutes before dismissal. The parking lot was half full with other parents' cars. Sophia did not own a car, did not need one living in Queens with good subway access. But today she wished she had driven, wished she had the protection of metal and glass. The preschool doors opened. Children poured out in a chattering stream of tiny backpacks and enthusiastic waving. Sophia spotted Lorenzo immediately, his dark hair catching the afternoon light as he ran toward her. "Mommy!" He crashed into her legs with the full force of 4-year-old momentum. "We made volcanoes today, with baking soda. They exploded." Sophia scooped him up despite the fact that he was getting heavy, too big to carry comfortably. But she needed to hold him, needed to feel the solid reality of his small body against hers. "That sounds amazing," she said, kissing his forehead. "Tell me everything." They started walking toward the parking lot exit, Lorenzo chattering about his day, about volcanoes and science, and how Maya said dinosaurs could not have survived lava. But he disagreed because some dinosaurs were very smart. Then Sophia saw the car. Black sedan, expensive, parked across from the exit in a way that would block her path. And leaning against it, arms crossed, watching her with eyes that held no warmth, was Roberto Ferraro. Sofia stopped walking. Lorenzo, still talking, did not notice at first. Then he tugged on her hand. "Mommy? Why did we stop?" "Just a second, baby," Sofia said, her voice steady despite the fear clawing up her throat. Roberto pushed off from the car and walked toward them. His movements were casual, unhurried. But there was something predatory in the way he closed the distance. This was not the charming man who had brought her flowers and complimented her translations. This was someone else entirely. "Sofia," he said, stopping 3 feet away. "We need to talk." "Not here," Sofia said quietly, aware of other parents nearby, other children. "And not now." "Yes, here," Roberto replied. "And definitely now." Lorenzo pressed closer to Sofia's leg, sensing the tension even if he did not understand it. "Who is that, Mommy?" "A friend from work," Sofia said, the lie tasting bitter. "Baby, can you sit on that bench for just a minute while I talk to him? I want to stay with you," Lorenzo said. "It will only be a minute," Sofia insisted, guiding him to a nearby bench within sight, but hopefully out of earshot. "Sit right here. Do not move. I will be right over there where you can see me." Lorenzo sat reluctantly, swinging his small legs, watching them with worried eyes. Sofia turned back to Roberto, keeping her body angled so she could see Lorenzo in her peripheral vision. "What do you want?" "I want to understand what changed," Roberto said, his voice cold. "1 week ago, we were making plans. Today, you are avoiding my calls and trying to end our relationship. What happened, Sofia?" "I realized we want different things," Sofia said carefully. "I think it is better if we go our separate ways." "Different things," Roberto repeated. "Or did someone convince you I am dangerous?" Sofia's heart hammered. "No one convinced me of anything. Anthony Verziani," Roberto said, watching her face. "You saw him at the gala and everything changed." "What did he tell you about me?" "This has nothing to do with him." "Everything has to do with him," Roberto said, stepping closer. Sofia stepped back instinctively. "Do you know what I find most interesting, Sofia? How carefully you have hidden your past, how thoroughly you erased any connection to your former life. It took significant resources to uncover the truth." "I do not know what you are talking about," Sofia said, but her voice shook. "Sofia Verziani," Roberto said slowly, deliberately. "That was your name once, was it not? Before you reclaimed your maiden name, before you pretended the marriage never happened." Sofia's throat closed. She could not breathe, could not think. "And that beautiful boy sitting on the bench," Roberto continued, his gaze flicking toward Lorenzo. "He is not just any child. He is Anthony Verziani's son, his heir, his weakness. Stay away from him," Sofia said, finding her voice through the terror. "Stay away from both of us." "You think you can just walk away now?" Roberto asked, his smile sharp and cruel. "You think I invested months in this for nothing? You and the boy are valuable, Sofia, more valuable than you understand. And valuable things do not get to simply leave." Sofia's hand moved to her purse, fingers closing around her phone. "I am going to walk away now. If you try to stop me, I will scream and every parent in this parking lot will call the police." "The police!" Roberto laughed without humor. "Yes, please, call them. Tell them that the respected businessman was having a conversation with his translator. See how seriously they take that." Sofia began backing toward the bench where Lorenzo waited. Roberto did not physically stop her, but his eyes tracked her movement like a wolf watching prey. "This is not over, Sofia," Roberto said. "You should think very carefully about your next moves, because some choices have consequences that extend beyond yourself. Your son deserves a mother who makes smart decisions, who protects him from unnecessary danger." The threat was clear. Sofia reached Lorenzo, grabbed his hand, and pulled him up from the bench. "We are leaving," she said to Roberto. "Do not contact me again." She walked quickly toward the street, practically dragging Lorenzo, who stumbled trying to keep up with her pace. "Mommy, you are hurting my hand," he complained. "I am sorry, baby," Sofia said, loosening her grip but not letting go. "We need to walk fast right now. Behind them, Roberto remained standing in the parking lot, watching them leave. Sophia did not look back. She turned the corner onto the main street, her entire body shaking with adrenaline and fear. They were 2 blocks away when she finally stopped, bending down to Lorenzo's level. "Are you okay?" she asked, checking him over as if Roberto might have somehow harmed him despite never touching him. "I am fine," Lorenzo said, confused. "But you seem scared." "Are you scared, Mommy?" "No," Sophia lied. "I am fine. Everything is fine." But everything was not fine. Roberto knew about Anthony. Roberto knew about Lorenzo. And Roberto had made it very clear that he had no intention of letting them go. Sophia pulled out her phone with trembling hands. She had no idea where to go, what to do, how to protect her son from threats she barely understood. Her apartment was not safe. Staying in public was not safe. Nothing was safe anymore. The phone rang once before a familiar voice answered. "Sophia," Anthony said, and she heard everything in how he spoke her name. Relief, concern, anticipation. "I need help," Sophia whispered, and saying those words felt like stepping off a cliff into darkness with no certainty of what waited below. Sophia climbed into the first rideshare that stopped at the curb, her heart still hammering. She sat behind the driver, phone clenched in her fist, and gave directions that came out broken and breathless. Her fingers dug into the edge of the seat as if gripping it could keep her upright. In the back seat, Lorenzo sat quietly for once, his usual endless chatter replaced by worried silence. He knew something was wrong even if he could not name it. "Mommy, where are we going?" he asked after they had been driving for 20 minutes through unfamiliar neighborhoods. "I am not sure yet, baby," Sophia admitted, her voice strained. "Just somewhere safe." She had called Anthony from the street corner 2 blocks from Lorenzo's school, her voice breaking as she said words she never thought she would speak to him again. "I need help." He had responded immediately with an address, instructions to get there, a promise that she would be protected. But Sophia had not gone straight to that address. She did not trust Anthony, could not trust him, despite the desperation clawing at her chest. Instead, she had the driver loop through Queens, then cross into Brooklyn, changing destinations twice when her nerves spiked. She kept twisting to look through the rear window, scanning the cars behind them for the sleek shape of Roberto's black sedan. The city blurred past her windows, familiar streets becoming foreign territory where every shadow held potential threat. Her phone buzzed in the cup holder, a text message from an unknown number. "Black SUV, 3 cars behind you. Do not be alarmed. Vincent Pellegrini. Working with Anthony. Follow my directions." Sophia's breath caught. She checked the mirror and saw it. A black SUV maintaining careful distance. Her first instinct was to accelerate, to lose whoever was following. But what good would that do? She had no plan, no safe place to go. Her apartment was compromised. Hannah's apartment would put her friend in danger. Hotels required identification that could be traced. Another text arrived. "Turn right at the next light, then merge onto the highway heading north." Sophia's hands trembled on the wheel. She could ignore the instructions, could try to run on her own. But Roberto had resources she could not fight alone. He had proven that today, appearing at Lorenzo's school as if he had every right to be there, making threats that were all the more terrifying for how calmly he delivered them. She turned right. The SUV followed at a respectful distance. More text messages came, guiding her through turns and lane changes, directing her north out of the city. Lorenzo had fallen asleep in his car seat, exhausted from the emotional upheaval of the day. His small chest rose and fell with deep, even breaths. His dinosaur backpack clutched against his body like a shield. 2 hours later, Sophia found herself on a private road cutting through dense Connecticut woodland. The trees formed a canopy overhead, filtering late afternoon sunlight into golden fragments. She followed the texts to a security gate that opened automatically as she approached, then continued up a long driveway to a house that looked nothing like what she expected. It was modern, all clean lines and large windows, built into the hillside as if growing naturally from the landscape. Not ostentatious, but clearly expensive in the way that quality always was. The black SUV pulled up beside her car as she parked. A large man stepped out, his posture military precise, his eyes constantly scanning their surroundings. Sophia stayed in her car, one hand on the door handle, the other reaching back to rest on Lorenzo's sleeping leg. The man approached slowly, keeping his hands visible. When he reached her window, he spoke quietly. "Mrs. Verciani, I am Vincent Pellegrini. Anthony sent me to ensure you arrived safely." "It is Ms. Mitchell," Sophia corrected automatically. "I have not been Mrs. Verciani for 5 years." "My apologies," Vincent said, and he sounded genuinely regretful. "Ms. Mitchell, Anthony is inside. He would like to speak with you." "I'm not going anywhere until I know Lorenzo is safe," Sophia said, her voice harder than she felt. "The house is secure," Vincent assured her. "Multiple layers of security, surveillance systems, trained personnel on the perimeter. Roberto Ferraro cannot reach you here." The front door of the house opened. Anthony stepped out, stopping at the edge of the porch, maintaining distance the way someone might approach a frightened animal. He wore jeans and a dark sweater, more casual than Sophia had ever seen him. It made him look younger, less intimidating, though his eyes held the same intensity they always had. Sophia made her decision. She opened the car door and stepped out, then opened the back door to unbuckle Lorenzo. He stirred, blinking sleepy confusion. "Are we home?" he mumbled. "Somewhere different," Sophia said, lifting him out despite the protest of her tired muscles. "Somewhere safe." She carried him toward the house, hyper-aware of Anthony watching her approach. When she reached the porch steps, he spoke. "There is a room prepared for him. Second door on the left upstairs. You can put him down to rest while we talk." Sophia climbed the steps, passing close enough to Anthony that she caught his scent, the same cologne that still sometimes haunted her dreams. She did not look at him, could not bear to meet his eyes yet. Inside, the house was beautiful in an understated way. Hardwood floors, high ceilings, furniture that looked comfortable rather than merely decorative. Natural light poured through the windows, making everything glow warm and golden. Sophia climbed the stairs, found the second door on the left, and pushed it open. She stopped breathing. The room was perfect. A child's room, carefully designed for a boy Lorenzo's age. A bed shaped like a race car sat against one wall. Shelves held books arranged by size, their spines showing titles Sophia recognized as Lorenzo's current favorites. Toys filled bins in one corner, educational puzzles and building blocks, and yes, dinosaur figures in every size and shape. A small desk held coloring books and crayons. The closet door stood open, revealing clothes hanging neatly, sizes that would fit Lorenzo exactly. "How?" Sophia whispered. Anthony had followed her upstairs, standing in the doorway. "I wanted him to be comfortable if you came here. I wanted him to feel safe." Sophia laid Lorenzo on the race car bed,